Hey guys, my name is Jenn Carrasco. I am a serial entrepreneur, founder of many six-figure businesses. I am also a skincare creator, an IFBB pro athlete that is extremely passionate about helping entrepreneurs grow their business and, most importantly, helping you and everybody else to own their shit. Welcome to Own Your Shit, the podcast. This is the show where we stop the comparison cycle, we eliminate the need for a secret sauce, and realize that the faster we own the way we stand in our own way, the faster and shorter the route is to creating that life we all crave. So, with that being said, now let's own your own shit. Hey guys, it's Jenn Carrasco here with Own Your Shit. And before we get on to my amazing host that I have, I want to say please like, share, review. It definitely helps a lot of us just get that entrepreneur spirit out there, help people going forward with a lot of things that a lot of people struggle with. And the person I have today, honestly, and I might get a little emotional about it, but I don't know what it is and I can't explain it. I have a connection with you that is different, and it's almost like you're my family. I've felt that from the moment that I met you, and I just cherish you and honor you. And I know I don't know you fully, but it's just that feeling in me, and you're an amazing man. So I want to introduce somebody that I highly look up to. And he's been married for 42 years. He has 2 sons, 2 grandchildren, and he's been in business for over 40 years. And so I want to introduce Sammie Knight.
Hello, how are you? It's such an honor to be on your podcast. And, I feel the same way about you. The first time I saw you at Apex, you went up and did the coaches deal. And I'm like, there's something that I'm connecting to. And I think the best thing I can describe it as is your heart. I'm a huge believer in your heart. And probably didn't show that a lot of times in my life in the past. I show it as much as I can now. Even made a post today about your heart set. And if you look in people's eyes and they allow you to look down, you can see their heart. And you can see pain, and you can see emotion, and you can see victory. And I think that's probably it. You allowed me to see who you were. And you weren't ashamed of it.
No.
And how cool is that?
Yeah. I have to say that I have learned a lot of things in life from you. And I would say a lot of our Apex brothers and sisters have as well. But before we get on what we wanted to talk about, there is something that I do want to bring up, because I think this is really crucial for a lot of entrepreneurs. And that is the base of the podcast, is Own Your Shit. Is where do you feel like in your life that you learn these obstacles to own your shit to where you are now?
Boy, that's a great question. You did well on that one. I think at an early age, I was real fortunate to have a father that I'm going to call it tough love. He was the epitome of it. And I'll give you just a short example. When I got married, my dad was my best man. Yeah. This will just give you a description of my dad. And as the wedding was over, the ceremony, of course, she split to get ready for the pictures and all that. So my dad, as my best man, he and I kind of stepped to one side. And he leaned over to me and he kind of tapped me with his elbow and he said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "Well, I'm married now. And he said, no, let me change your train of thought. He said, as of this moment, you stop being my son, your mother's son, your sister and brother's sibling, and you started being responsible for somebody else. And he said, from here on, your job is going to be a provider. And he said, you may not like it, but you need to suck it up. And I don't know if I've ever had truer words spoken to me. So that was the kind of guy that raised me. And early on, he had a big belief in being positive. You know, when I was in high school, I was tall and skinny. Hard to believe now, I know, but tall and thin. And my dad, I went home and I had grandparents and stuff that were large. I was playing football and I was like this lanky, slow, ridiculously goofy football player. And I went home one day and I told my dad, I said, gosh, I got to figure out how to do this. I've got to find a way to put weight on. And everybody's talking about lifting weights, and I was lifting weights and I was strong, but I just didn't have that weight that I needed. My dad, in his own way, said, son, you can be anything you want to. All you have to do is believe. Mm-hmm. He said, you want to weigh 250 pounds? I weighed about 160 then, 6'2". Oh, he said, you want to weigh 250 pounds? Start believing it. Mm-hmm. Looking me dead now. And he said, if you want to make that happen, you start believing it and it'll happen.
Yeah.
And I did. The problem is I went past it, but I was able to accomplish that. So I think the own your own shit was my dad telling me, if you're going to own it, you got to believe it and you got to do the work. And long before I ever heard people say to do the work, like in Apex, that's just the way I was raised. My dad was a great man, a very loving man in his own way, you know, but a rock. Yeah. And he would put a boot in your ass and tell you, you know what, get out of my face and get your ass out there and get busy.
Yeah.
If you want to change it, go change it. Don't come whining to me. I remember when my brother died, I had a brother that I lost to suicide, and I was living out of town, had a family and all, and I went home and I went up to my dad as soon as I got there, you know, and I was going to give him a hug, like, gosh, Dad, I'm really sorry. I started hugging my dad, pushed me back. So we hugged him. I said, well, Mike passed and all. My dad said, he's gone. We're going to move on from here. And at that moment, I thought, man, what a cruel dude, you know, my dad. But today, he was telling me something. He was saying, when things finish, you can't fix them.
Yeah.
You got to go forward. So yeah. We can't worry about yesterday. Let's go tomorrow. And so that's where my dad.
This morning, and this is reminding me of what we talked about before we aired. So, you know, I know I always poke fun at Kevin, right? My other half. I always poke fun at him. I love him, but I poke fun at him. And,
you know, by the way, I love him too. So go ahead.
But he's not an emotional man. He's very hard and he's very disciplined and he's very, you know, and I admire that because that's how I am, even though I tend to get a little bit more emotional. And this morning, we've been having a little rough patch right now with the electrical company with a lot of things. And this morning, the loan, the EIDL loan that we've been waiting for finally funded, right? So it was like a huge breath of fresh air. And him and I had this conversation because I had to sign up for a franchise and all that. And it was just, it took everything that I had, which I knew it was okay because I would push forward with this. It was the best decision that I did. But he told me this morning, he opened up and he looked at me and he actually started to cry. And he doesn't cry. I've never seen this man cry once. And he said, it killed me to know that I couldn't provide it for you.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty cool.
That's when you know it's like, wow, like for me, I feel that that's everything that you want in a relationship with somebody that would lay their life down or do anything for you. And it goes both ways. So,
yeah, you know, when you have that kind of commitment, you can't miss.
No.
Can't miss.
No. And so going forward, I wanted to talk about your wife. And I think that's why I brought that up, because it would be really good for people to listen about relationships, especially people that I feel are in their 30s and 40s right now that are just getting married and needing to understand the fact that we take people for granted.
Yeah, this may take a second. I don't think I'll tear up because I've said it a few times, but it's tearing up in here. But I started dating my wife when we were 16, and we were in high school. And maybe one of my first challenges is I went to her stepmother was the lady that cut my hair. And I had met my wife in some event. I saw her and I thought, man, that's a good looking gal. I sure would like to meet her one day. You know, I didn't really meet her. I just saw her, you know. So the next time I'm sitting at my stepmother-in-law, my wife's stepmother's beauty shop, I see this picture of the same girl. I'd never seen it before. And I'd sat in that same chair and I see this picture. I'm like, what are you doing with that picture? Did that come, being a smart ass? I said, that come with the frame? And she said, no, that's my daughter. And I said, well, I want to meet her. She said, oh, no, she's dating another guy. And I said, she just doesn't know she really needs to date me. And so anyway, long story short, moved forward. I started dating my wife. We went through high school and junior college and then got married when we were 20. Way too young. You're now looking at if you looked at Webster's dictionary for idiot, my picture would be on the page. I did everything humanly possible wrong. Mm-hmm. I traveled a lot. I was in business. I woke up every day and I thought about me and where I wanted to go and why I wanted to be there. And oh yeah, I've got somebody I want to bring along with me. And she's got a couple of kids that we've had. Wasn't my kids. It was just, she was taking care of them. We were bringing them along. Mm-hmm. And just really an idiot is the best thing I can say. And probably hurt a few people along the way being an idiot. And for those, I'll always be forever sorry. But when she started, well, I tell you what, I'll start with one thing. We've been married about 3 years and we weren't going through challenging times. We were going through the 3-year whether or not we're going to make it. You know, I was tired of her squeezing the toothpaste in the middle and she was tired of me rolling it up on the bottom. And the toilet paper rolled off the top instead of off the bottom. And we were there. And I told her, I said, you know, and I think we were both ready to call it. And I said, I tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. Here I'm negotiating with my wife like I'm going to buy a business. You know, that's how intelligent. And I said, I'll make a deal with you. If we can survive until our 15th wedding anniversary and I can afford it, I'll take you anywhere in the world you want to go. Odds are in my favor. 1, we probably wouldn't survive. And 2, I damn sure wouldn't be able to afford it. And so we rocked along and we made it to about year 12. And she reminded me of it. And I, like most men, forgotten it. And I said, yeah, you're right. Where do you want to go? You want to go to Europe? 1, we could afford it. And 2, we had survived, it looked like. So I said, let's go to Europe. No, I don't really want to do that. I said, well, how about a cruise? And no, I'm not a big boat person, you know. I'm starting to get short on my temper, and I'm like, what the hell do you want to do? And she said, I want to go to Alaska. I said, okay, great, that'll help. So I start working on cruises, to kind of follow the glaciers and all. And I came home with this beautiful cruise, small boat. I told you I don't want to cruise. I want to see the countryside. Oh, I was furious. I said, okay, so we'll go in the summer. We're going to go to Alaska and go in the summer. No, you know how much I love snow. I want to see it in the winter. I'm like, we can't do very well driving in the mud in Mississippi, much less the snow. And so I told her that, a little short, and she kind of teared up. She said, you promised. And that's probably the first time that I really realized that what that word meant. I did. And prior to that, I had promised when I said I do. And so I said, okay, I'm going to prove a point this time. So I found a dog sledding adventure, 7 to 8 days, 7 nights across inside the Arctic Circle, sub-zero temperatures, sleeping in tents, brutal weather. And this is a woman that had never camped out, never been in a sleeping bag. I said, I'm going to make it so rough that she says no. I told her, and she said, perfect. I thought, holy cow. I'm going to have to do this damn thing now. So she accepted the challenge. And looking back, that's who she is. She's always accepted the challenge. My dad told my wife many times when I would come in some drunken stupor like an idiot, my dad would tell my wife, look, honey, if I were you, I'd divorce that son of a bitch. And she just hung in there, Even my dad was telling her she was crazy for sticking around. But I realized that she signed on for the duration. And so as time evolved, we had our second child. She started having some challenges as, female challenges. She was young, in her 30s, and my kids would call me on the phone. I'd be on the road and I'd talk to my kids, and when I'd call them, they were in their teens, and it'd be like, hey, Dad, do you know where the crazy medicine is? Mom's going crazy again. She probably needs to take something. She tells us to put our shoes here and then pick them up from there and move them there. Can you talk to her? And so I'd talk to my wife, and and then I'd talk to the boys, and then I'd come home for 2 days, and then I'd blaze out. I watched this lady go through the toughest thing I'd ever seen in my life, the change of life in her 30s.
Wow.
And we battled through it. And, she'd wake up in the middle of the night aching with pain. And I said, man, she stuck it out with me. I'm going to stick it out here. I'm going to take this on with her. And so I went every step of the way. And not easy. She went through it for a long time. It was probably 6 or 8 years that we dealt with it. And she was watching Dr. Phil. Isn't that where everybody gets advice?
Yeah.
And Dr. Phil's wife had gone through the same challenge. And she was talking about a doctor in Santa Monica. Now, I have family. My mother's from San Diego. My sister still lives out there. I love California, but I love to go and not stay long and get the hell out.
Yeah, I understand.
And she found this doctor. Yeah, she found this doctor in Santa Monica. So she sent all these lab results, and we went out there for the first meeting. And the doctor sent my wife a book of all these things that were changing in her life and things they needed to do to correct it. And we sat down with this doctor. Dr. Leon is her name. And we sat down with this doctor for 2 hours. And she went through what my wife was facing and the chemical imbalances and things that she can do to correct it, fix it. For 2 hours. I'd never seen anybody go through something like that.
Yeah.
And I tell Dr. Leon all the time, she brought my girlfriend back. It was amazing. And so the strength this lady that I was fortunate enough to meet a long time ago has is phenomenal. And I tell people, like, we hear about the Dream 25 list.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people the top two names on my Dream 25 are God and my wife, because I want to get to know both of them better every day. I don't know what my wife and I are going to face when we're in our 70s. I don't know what health challenges we're going to face, and I don't know how to resolve them, but I want to know her as well as I possibly can so I can do my part to make it easy on her, because she made it easy on me. So that's what I can say about my wife. She's amazing.
No, I love it. And really that's where I think the love and passion comes from, is that the fact of, and it's even with business, if you want to look at it as business, is getting over those hurdles and understanding somebody and uniting. And that's the same even with, you can take it as business if you want to, but I feel like you grow together,
I've been successful in business. I've been real fortunate. I can sit here and talk to you about P&Ls and business plans. And I can tell you everything there is to know and how to do it and how to read it and everything. And now at the ripe young age of 63, I think if I look back over my time, what would I do different? I wish somebody would have come along and said, don't think about how good you can be with a P&L and how to make money work for you and so on and so forth. Think about the commitment that you have to make with your heart and your soul, and what's involved, and what's that look like, and what's that feel like. And I can tell you, watching my wife go through what she did and being fortunate enough to live, it's made me a better businessman. And it's made me look at challenges and failures. And I say this all the time. A failure is only a failure if you quit. Then you're a failure.
Yep.
Failure to me, or failing to me, is an opportunity. And those are the things I think that change whether or not you're going to be good at business or great at business.
Yeah.
Is how you take on those challenges, if you will. And she taught me how to do it.
What do you think the biggest lesson you feel like in a relationship and marriage is?
Well, there's a lot of them, because I sure screwed a lot of them up. I think we reach a point in a relationship oftentimes that we feel like we know each other. And so we just make assumptions. What we don't think about is every year there's a change. I love what you do when you speak and you talk about the importance and the difference that a woman has, the way they have to think, and the way life is different for them. And more men need to listen to what people like you say. So if it was one thing I had to say, and I say this is probably it, is when you first met your wife, she was your girlfriend, and you talked about things, and you enjoyed things, and you laughed, and I tell the story about stealing a rose from somebody's yard and giving it to her. And you did all those things because you wanted to connect. And then we allow the challenges of life to get in the way of that. And we blame it. We grew apart. Sometimes that happens. And sometimes marriages don't work. And the best thing to do is get out as amicably as possible. But I think for men and women can probably do the reverse, and partners, if there's partners out there, I think you have to remember they were the girlfriend or boyfriend first, and never, ever, ever stop dating them.
I agree with you.
I I don't do date nights. I date my wife every day.
Yep. I agree.
And I think that's the single biggest thing.
And still telling them that they're special. I think that's huge. Definitely.
You mentioned that. It makes me think about a deal. My wife was going to this, or goes to this local yoga studio. One day she was there from, I think it was 10:30 to 11:30. I said, hey, I'll meet you at 11:30 and we'll go grab some lunch. And I got there a little early, so I'm sitting at the end of this long porch covering where this yoga studio was. And she walked out of the door sweating and had her yoga mat, exhausted, and I whistled at her. And there was a couple of ladies behind her, and those ladies couldn't get past my wife fast enough. They came straight to me and they said, is that your wife? And I said, it is. And they said, that's the nicest thing I've ever seen a husband do. I wish my husband would do that. And I said, if you treat him like she treats me, maybe they will. And those women didn't take what I said real kindly, but I was serious, So those things mean something.
Mm-hmm.
I wake up in the morning, I look at my wife and I call her beautiful every day. I don't, there's not a day that goes by I don't do that. I wish I'd have learned it 40 years ago. I was a little hard-headed. I had to learn how to do it later. So if I could teach anybody in their 30s that's been married 6 or 7 or 8 years how to make things better, that's what I'd say is date your wife every day like you did the first day you took her out.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for hanging with me and giving me your time, giving everybody your time. Definitely, this is one phenomenal man that you should follow. I cherish him, and he has so much wisdom. So I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you for giving me your Friday.
Thank you and allowing me to be a part of it, but don't stop being you. You're pretty damn cool, and you got a hell of a lot to tell people.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Well, guys, that's a wrap for another episode of Own Your Own Shit. Now that this is half the battle, owning your shit allows you the freedom to create something even better in your life. Getting out of your own way, it doesn't have to be lonely. Making sure to follow me for more advice. Follow me on every social media platform at Jenn Carrasco. My Instagram is Jenn Carrasco with 2 underscores. Find me on Facebook at the same name. And of course, share the episode with friends who need some help in the tough times and typically helping them to own their shit. So with that being said, see you guys next week.